It's not always the biggest, strongest person that's the most terrifying. Sometimes the quietest ones are. Like the man I'm about to tell you about, Terry. He was the new guy on the block. Quiet, kept to himself, hardly spoke a word. But everyone knew he was dangerous. You could feel it in your bones when you stepped foot on his property. The house looked normal enough. White picket fence, well-kept lawn, petunias in the garden. "Can you fix them?" he asked softly. My heart melted. Of course I could fix them. It just took one afternoon. By the time the sun set, the roses were fixed. Terry stood next to me, silent, his face impassive. "Thank you," he whispered, finally speaking more than 2 words at once. They were my wife's favorite. It was the only time I ever saw him smile. Later, when the police showed up asking questions, I told them about the roses. Turns out Terry's wife had died in a hit and run 3 years ago while walking home. Apparently, the driver hadn't stopped. She loved roses, so he planted them. He hoped she'd like that. But it didn't stop there. Every time the roses wilted or drooped, he did too. He thought he'd hurt himself, so he holed up in his house. But I understood him. I'd lost my mother to a drunk driver, too. Grief can turn you into a recluse. It almost made me one. But Terry was different. He'd been hiding for years. He hadn't spoken a word to anyone. And that's why no one knew him. They judged him. But I didn't. I saw the pain in his eyes. I saw the love for his wife. I decided to help him. I brought over his favorite cookies, ginger snaps. And then I did something crazy. I invited him to dinner. To my surprise, he agreed. And slowly, so slowly, he opened up. He talked about his wife, his plans, his dreams. It was amazing to see him come alive. But that fragile piece shattered when his past did. It was the middle of the night. I heard yelling, "Open the door! Open the damn door! I have a warrant!" I looked out my window. Searchlights cut through the darkness. Police cars blared. Sirens wailed. Terry stood frozen, his eyes dull, his hands shaking. The officers had missed something. They hadn't seen the love. He wasn't a monster. He was grieving. And sometimes grief can look a lot like anger. That trial was brutal. They labeled Terry a monster, said I was lying for him, that he was some kind of serial killer. But I knew the truth. He wasn't a monster. He was a man in pain, and I wouldn't let them break him. Terry explained. When the police came, he hid the paintings. He was scared. Then he realized he didn't want to hide anymore. He wanted to honor her memory. So he started painting. He painted the sunrise, his wife's smile, even her favorite dress. With each stroke, he felt her presence, her love, her peace. And when the police found the paintings, they understood. There was no violence, just art. Terry wasn't a monster. He was an artist. In the end, the charges were dropped. Terry emerged from his house, changed but whole. He'd discovered his passion for art, and he shared it with the world. He held exhibitions, taught classes, and mentored young artists. People marveled at his talent, hailed him as a genius. And all the time I smiled knowing the real masterpiece was the friendships he made along the way. It was a reminder that grief could be a bridge, connecting hearts and creating beauty. It also taught me something about judgment. Sometimes we see what we want to see. Sometimes a monster is just a man covered in paint. That's all for today. See you tomorrow.